Namaste, namaskaram. Welcome, dear esteemed, honorable, noble, and notable viewer, as in your name has been notated within the book of life. Welcome to this second installment of the Universal Laboratory, where we're going to discuss now the second coming of Christ. And the second coming of Christ is the resurrection of the Christ within all of us, the Christ consciousness. Christ is a title. Christ means the anointed one, anointed with the knowledge of the divine and living through the knowledge of the divine. Now, before I kick off this second episode of the Universal Laboratory, I want to provide a RTS warning. RTS is in religious trauma syndrome for those people suffering from the negative applications of the brainwash programming of organized religion, for those individuals who have a very myopic, linear, selfish view of the truth, of the dispensation from God, from the divine, from the source of all that is. I want you to understand that in my ministry, in the ministry of Umbanda, the entirety of the world's spiritual gnosis and traditions are part of this ministry. So if you're one of these organized religion people and you're somehow put off or offended, or you just have to deploy your control mechanisms and make your attempt to provide your version of the truth and attempt to somehow get in the way of this ministry, because this ministry has the full force of God, of source behind it. You're going to be triggered because the superior man maintains his position or her position. The superior man continues on the path that has been provided, the connection from intelligent infinity that guides each day, that guides that person who is connected to source. The superior man does not alter his course. So you're going to find that in these presentations at the Ombanda New Earth Ashram for Compassion and Strength and the Christ Sciences, we make full use of all the world, todos los mundos and todos los gentes, all the world and all the people. We make full use of all spiritual gnosis. So let that be a warning. But thank you for your comments. I appreciate knowledge, as the great Zulu shaman Basama Zulu Baba Credo Mutwa, how he pronounced knowledge. And I maintain that Basama Zulu Baba Credo Mutwa was at least as powerful as Jesus the Christ. So hopefully you can get that and put it in your book of life, because otherwise, if you do not recognize the great Zulu shaman Basama Zulu Baba Credo Mutwa as a Christ conscious individual, then your name is in the book of death. You are part of the Luciferian social mental complex that has an agenda by 2024 to entrap everyone within the digital matrix through their virtual neural link and all that. Your name is in the book of death, not in the book of life. Now, moving on, the presentation going forward in the days ahead will involve discussing Christ in India. It will be a revealing, and in the sense of an apocalypse. And now, perhaps you're familiar with apocalypse and the terms Armageddon, but an apocalypse is a revealing. And a lot of times when people have their eyes cleansed from their their myopic, very close-minded mental processes, it's an apocalypse for them. It's a revealing. And this revealing will involve the hidden yoga of the Gospels. Yes, Jesus, the Christ, taught Kundalini yoga to his disciples and confirms that Jesus, in the days ahead, we will discuss this. We will confirm that Jesus, like the ancient sages and masters of the East, you can follow along with me. I provided notes here in this presentation. And we will understand that these ancient sages and masters of the East not only knew yoga, but taught this universal science of God realization to his closest disciples. That's what Jesus was all about. An apocalypse is what happens when someone is exposed to the transcendent reality of God's perspective. So you're going to tell me that the Almighty God, the God of all creation, of all that is, the divine grid programmer, is going to have a problem because Jesus' name is mentioned in the same breath with Hindus? No. An apocalypse. This is your apocalypse, whomever has this myopic vision. But an apocalypse is what happens when someone is exposed to the transcendent reality of God's perspective, not your little organized religion control freak perspective. Okay, capiche? You got it? Your little organized religion brainwashing, negative Anunnaki brainwashing that's meant to keep mankind separated. Not your perspective. I'm talking about the source of all creation, God's perspective. His perspective transcends all. It unites everything. Buddhism, Muslim, Islam, Christians, Hinduism, it's shamanism, everything of divine gnosis that leads man out of the trap of Satan's world into direct connection with the divine of all, the prime creator. Woo! Can I get a witness? So that is what an apocalypse is. It's a revealing. It's what happens when someone is exposed to the transcendent reality of God's perspective. Not your organized brainwashing perspective, but God's perspective. An apocalypse is a confrontation with the divine so intense that it transforms how a person views everything. Everything. And Armageddon, coming from the Hebrew hill of Megiddo, is in the New Testament, is a place where the kings of the earth under demonic leadership will wage war on the forces of God at the end of history. The kings of the earth under demonic leadership created organized religion. The kings of the earth under demonic leadership are invested in divide and conquer, keeping mankind continually bickering over, because the name Jesus was mentioned in reference or in the same breath as the Vedic sciences of India, which are holy sages, where Christ went at age 13 and studied for many years. There's proof of that. And I'm going to provide that proof in the days ahead, as well as how a person can take refuge in the Dharma, the divine knowledge, that you possess an indwelling spark of the divine. I bet people who have a problem with the mentioning of the word Jesus in the same breath of Hindu are all about going overseas to kill Muslims. I bet you're all about that. Well, don't you understand that nobody, irregardless of what their professed faith is, whatever brainwashing programs they still operate under, they are still a divine son or daughter of God. And you can take that to the bank. So we're going to pick up here in the days ahead, but this has just been a sort of a universal laboratory to dispel anybody who has any doubts about the ministry of Umbanda. Umbanda leverages the entire spiritual traditions of the earth. All the peoples are invited. When I have my third dimensional church religious structure one day, everybody, irrespective of color, skin, creed, belief, gender, mixed, whatever, I don't care. You can bring your dog to church. You can bring your birds and cats. It's going to be like, paradise all over. And it begins with gnosis and knowledge of the divine. And perhaps it was time for your personal apocalypse to take place, because you have just heard the words of the divine.
Namaste, namaskaram.